Hi, everyone. This is Caitlin Parjak from Suffolk County Community College, and I am here to talk with you for a few minutes about how to write a resume for an internship. So if this is your first time applying for an internship in the field, you may not have any experience in the field, and that's okay, but you are still going to need a resume. So why do you need a resume? A resume is going to provide the employer or potential employer with a snapshot of who you are and what it is you're looking for. So it just gives them a little bit of background about you. It gives you an opportunity to highlight your skills. Whether you have experience or not, you do already have skills in this field, and your resume gives you an opportunity to show your potential employer what those things are. It definitely needs to be neat and organized. You want to make sure you don't have any typos on a resume. This is going to be the first impression that you make, so it's really important that we kind of keep things as well presented as possible. And you need to be factual, so don't lie about your experience ever on a resume. As you move forward with your career, you're going to continue to build on this resume. You want to make sure you stay factual throughout your career. And when you start really looking for jobs, employers usually spend only about 1 to 3 seconds looking at your resume before they decide whether or not you're worthy of an interview. And if they, then they'll spend a little bit more time if it looks good. But if it doesn't look good, they're going to put it down right away. So we need to grab their attention. And you do that with a neat and attractive format. You want to make sure you're including your full contact information. That includes your full name, so first and last, your address, your email. Because you're looking for an internship right now, you should use your school email. As you move forward and continue to develop and build out your resume throughout your career, you want to make sure you're always using a professional sounding email or basic email on your resume. So your name, maybe a number at Gmail, that's pretty common. You want to make sure it's not like hot mama at AOL, right? We want to make sure that the email that you're using sounds professional. You should also make sure you have your phone number on there, and you should make sure that your voicemail box is not full, and you should make sure to be checking your messages after you start putting your resume out. A lot of employers will contact you via phone, so you want to make sure that you don't miss that call. And sometimes the phone call might not come from the number you're expecting it to, so it's okay to screen, but definitely check your voicemail and call people back. You also want to probably include a profile or an objective, and this should highlight a little bit about you very briefly, 1 to 2 sentences. So for example, bilingual social work student experienced in residential settings, seeking a foundation year internship in a macro setting. So that's probably one for a master's level student. You're right now in your human services program. This is probably your first internship. If you do have already some experience in this field, you can highlight that in your profile. If you're bilingual, that's definitely something you want to lead with, right? That's a very attractive trait for a lot of agencies. We have a lot of need for bilingual workers in this field and a shortage of them. A more basic one for somebody who's newer to the field: human services student eager to gain experience in the field of social services, seeking an internship in a school or related setting, right? So we'll talk about some other objectives as we move forward throughout the rest of the presentation. Your education needs to be on there, and you should start with your current program, followed by your most recent degree, right? So if you are in college right now, you have a high school diploma, you should list your high school diploma on it. If you were a master's student, everybody's going to assume that you graduated high school at some point, or have a GED. So you would start with your current program, followed by the program that you most recently completed. Okay, so you want to make sure that your resume is indicating that you're a current student if you're looking for an internship. That's important. So AS Human Services, expected May 22, Suffolk County Community College. Work experience. You're going to list your work experience whether it's relevant or not, unless you've never had a job. If you have had a job, you should list it. You want to put your most recent work experience first. It should be the name of the agency, organization, whatever it is you worked for, the town, the state, the dates of employment. And when I say dates, month and year is fine, or sometimes even just year if you've been there for a couple of years or more. You should use bullet points to break down your responsibilities, and you want to highlight your transferable skills. So the nice thing about working in the field of human services and social work, if you've worked with people before in any capacity, whether it's in the food service industry, I mean, one of the most Challenging jobs I had when I was young was at a supermarket. Everybody needs to buy food. That gave me a lot of experience working with people and actually managing some issues from time to time as well. So you want to do your best to highlight your transferable skills. And then you want to make sure you list references. You don't necessarily have to put names and contact information right on your resume. If your resume is very bare, you can add names and contact information. But regardless, either way, you want to make sure when you go to your interview, you have your resume, you have with your resume another sheet of paper that lists your references on them. And when I say references, it should be the name of the person, it should be the relationship. So how do you know this person, their phone number, and their email address. It should be somebody who's able to speak to your professionalism. So it should not be somebody that you're related to. You can use employers, you can use coworkers if you need to. If you don't have enough former employers, you can use a professor. If you're looking for your internship for the Human Services program, I'm happy to serve as a reference for you, or one of your current, maybe your HUS 103 professor is willing to as well. And if you have an employer or somebody that oversaw you during volunteer experience, you can reach out to them. Definitely let people know if you list them as a reference in case they get a phone call or an email. Okay. Optional sections. So these tend to be used more so by people who are lacking experience, and that's okay. If you have any volunteer experience, actually, I would say, even if you have other relevant experience, I would list volunteer experience as well on your resume. How you list that is going to depend on how significant your contributions were. I mean, if it was a one-day volunteer experience, then there might, you know, like you were just helping set up an event, it might be less involved. But if you're volunteering someplace over the course of several years, maybe you've had a lot of different responsibilities there, and that's relevant experience for your internship. So you can break that down accordingly, or you might just list the agency that you volunteered at or the organization. You can list relevant coursework, especially, again, this is more, this is a filler section, and as you gain more experience in the field, this is probably something that's going to come off of your resume. But if you're just starting out, relevant coursework is a good way to show that, you know, you are learning some stuff about this field, even though you don't really have experience yet. Honors and awards, if you have them, list them. If you don't have them, don't have an honors and awards heading and nothing under it. But including, like, if you were on the dean's list, that's an honor or award. Like, that's you know, it's something that's definitely worth mentioning. Skills or trainings, if you're CPR certified, or if you are working in a position that had you take therapeutic crisis intervention or a medication management training, anything that's in any way related, you can list here under skills and trainings if you have skills and trainings. You can also list computer skills if you need to. I think that that used to be more commonplace than it is now. I think at this point, agencies are going to assume that you have some basic computer skills, but this is an extra area if you feel like you need to fill out your resume a little bit more. And activities and interests, these should only be if it's something that's been within the past 5 years or so. But, like, you know, and again, if this is more for people who are generally new to the field. But if you are a captain of the soccer team, like, that shows some leadership skills potentially, right? If you're in a club on campus at school, hopefully we will be on campus again, but some clubs are meeting virtually now. That's something you could list. I had somebody mention yesterday or earlier this week, like, can I list that I was a Girl Scout for a while? Yes, but only if it's recent, right? Like, if you're 35, you probably don't want to list that you were a Girl Scout. But if you're, you know, 19 and you were a Girl Scout until you were 17, yeah, you can definitely put that on there. And volunteer experience from high school as well is still relevant. Okay, so I have a couple of examples here. So this is an example of somebody with really no experience yet, right? So human services students seeking an entry-level internship to gain experience providing services in a community-based agency. So that's pretty basic, it's pretty straightforward. Education. AS Human Services, expected May 2022, Suffolk County Community College, Advanced Regents Diploma, 2019, Brentwood High School. Relevant coursework might include Intro to Social Welfare, Interviewing and Social Work Practice, Intro to Psych, Abnormal Psych. If you haven't taken it yet, don't put it on here. But classes that you've taken that are relevant, you could even put Intro to Sociology on here. If you're fluent in another language, that's something you want to lead with under your summary, but it's also something that you could include in another area on here, right? Experience, good steer, Riverhead, New York, hostess, waitress, greeted guests in a friendly and engaging manner. Guess what? That's a transferable skill. You're going to be greeting clients. Took orders in a fast-paced environment and ensured guest satisfaction with their meals. So you're not lying, right? You're upfront, you're to the point, but you're framing things in a way that highlight that you have some skill, you've had some experience working with people, right? Some activities, member of the CARES Club, providing childcare for various families within the community, Girl Scout 2008 to 2014. Okay, references available upon request. And again, you want to have that list of references available. The contact information for your references should be available. And then this one is, I use the same name here. This is not a real person, but this person has a little bit more experience, right? Although the summary here still says human services student eager to gain experience working with children and families. AS human services, so this is on here as well, but maybe this person has been out of school for a little bit longer and didn't want to put their high school on here. That's okay if you've been out for a long time. That being said, sometimes it can be a bonus to show that you graduated high school a long time ago, because then agencies feel like they're maybe getting somebody that's a little bit older, and sometimes that doesn't hurt you, So experience, the Guild for Exceptional Children. So this is more relevant, right? So maintained a safe and comfortable environment to promote the health and well-being of individuals with developmental disabilities, formed a relationship with each child as a method for implementing a therapeutic program, right? So what you'll notice here is that we used action words to start these bullet points. That's a really good way to approach your resume writing, because it makes it feel like you've accomplished something, and you have accomplished something no matter what job you're working in. The other experience here is not as relevant, and that's okay. Reviewed and resolved issues according to standard operation procedures and identified creative solutions to unusual problems at Zipcar, right? But those are transferable skills. Even though you're working at Zipcar, you're not working as a social worker. It's not a human services industry, but these are transferable skills. Provided support to Zipcar fleet team, closely monitored problematic accounts. These are all things that you're going to be wanting to highlight. And using those action words really can help you stand out in a crowd. And then there are some different activities down here. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful. As you move forward throughout your career, definitely have somebody else look over your resume for you before you send it out to people. This can help make sure that you don't have typos, that it's coming across as clearly as you intended it to. You can always we have a great career services office at the college that will review your resume for you. Once you get some internship experience, you're going to want to add that to your resume, and the career services office can help you do that. And we'll also talk about that in your 211 class. So I hope that this will help you get started. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, and I hope to be placing you in your internship soon. Take care.